Hello, I'm Asif Farouk of Finextra, and I'm here today with Benji Wakeham of Pollen. So Benji, thank you for joining me today. On the Pollen site, I saw that a quote which said, mistrust has arisen with customers towards their banks. Why do you think that's happened?
There's multiple reasons. I think opaque pricing, I think lack of innovation, I think poor customer service, and I think Swift. I mean, payments is data. I can send a WhatsApp message to a friend in Australia. I can get one tick when it's sent, another tick when it's delivered, and then I can get the third tick or the blue ticks when it's arrived and they've received it. I send a payment to that same friend in Australia. I get a notification that it's been sent from the bank, as in the money's come out of my account, and I just pray that in 3 days later, the money turns up in his account. You get no feedback, and worst of all, not the full amount that you sent arrives in their account. A similar analogy is sending a cake to someone in Australia, and along the way, the postman has a slice of the cake, the delivery man has a slice of the cake, the sorting office have a slice of the cake, and what's left at the end is what's left. You've got 2/3 of a cake. It just seems crazy that in 2015 that we're still working with legacy systems for the 1970s.
Okay, so how exactly are you providing mass payments for cheaper? What banking rails are you using?
So at the moment we're currently using similar banking rails to everyone else. We're using BACS in the UK, ACH in America, and SEPA in Europe. We're linked in through Swift to make our payments, so the same as everyone else. But what we do is we try and create efficiencies of local banking infrastructure. So what we'll do is, for instance, for a mass payment, we will do a single payment across border, and then we'll do multiple local payments out from there. So that's saving efficiencies on timing and also on cost as well, because the costs associated with cross-border payments are absolutely outrageous. I'm a huge advocate of digital currencies though. Not necessarily Bitcoin, but more ones like Ripple and Stellar. I think they act as a digital vehicle currency. I don't think the infrastructure is quite there yet for them, but we're certainly tracking it very closely, and we're going to be the first people to integrate that when they are ready and when we can make instant transactions cross-border using things like the blockchain to verify payment and payout on the other end. So we're really tracking that closely, because that's going to make a huge difference in terms of cross-border payments around the world.
Okay. So what's your plan for working with developing markets?
So that's another limitation of the banks, is that you can only play bank account to bank account. I mean, there's currently 2 billion unbanked people in the world. Bill Gates has categorically said that in the next 15 years, innovations for the unbanked are going to be one of his top 4 developments throughout all markets and industries. So it's a huge problem, because if you're a developing country, the quickest way to help you get developed is to have efficient flows of money into you, and not only into the country but into their staff, into the hands of their staff for them to spend. And that's not being serviced at all. So we're working very closely with companies in Africa, especially in terms of their mobile payments sector, people like M-Pesa, which in Kenya currently over 50% of Kenya's GDP, the equivalent of, is transacted each year. 70% of households in Kenya have an M-Pesa account, and it's just growing like wildfire. I read a statistic the other day that there are more transactions per month made via mobile payments in Africa than there are the entirety of PayPal around the world. It's just getting insane. So we're working very closely with those payments companies. We're integrating them as fast as possible, because we want employees in places like Africa, in places like India, to not have to switch their payment provider, to say, I am an M-Pesa account holder, and to link into our system. And they own their beneficiary data, they own their payee data, and they have their own self-serve account where they can log in and say, this is my account, this is me, and that links straight into the company's payroll system, allowing their salary to be paid directly onto it, which is cheapest, most efficient time-wise, and safest for the employee. No sending and emailing of personal data around. So that's huge for us.
Okay. In our discussion earlier, you mentioned that ownership of personal data was a real core focus of Pollen. Why is that?
We think it's incredibly important. I mean, you look at some of the hackings that have happened recently. You look at the Sony hacking. You look at companies' payment information being hacked. People losing all their credit card information. I read somewhere on just Monday that an American insurance company has lost 80 million credit card details. And they happen because people are downloading and re-uploading personal information, their payment information, their address, into their email accounts and then uploading them to other systems. It's so unsecure, it's insane. So by giving a payee ownership of their data, they have their own account with two-factor authentication, bank level security, and they can add their current details, secure them there, and then we provide a unique tokenized ID that links into the company and means that there's no downloading information. The ID for their payment links straight through to their payment information. So what we're trying to do is provide a really much safer service. Beyond that, we actually see a vision for Pollen in terms of being a validated source of identity. Similar to how Apple did it with Apple Pay and how Facebook did it with Facebook companies, we feel this is an adoption strategy. So beyond that, the vision for Pollen is really getting involved in validated identity and being a trustless network that gives people ownership of their information and allows the network to validate it. And I think this is really important for the next stage of the internet even. I think in 50 years' time, we'll look back on this period and I think we'll laugh at it. I think it will be considered the Wild West of the internet, where people could just log in anonymously, do whatever they want. And I think that's categorically wrong. I think you don't have to be always you. You can be anonymous, but I think you have to be validated to know that you're not a fraudster, to know that you're not being someone you're not, and you can be trusted. And I think that's really important in creating this white space on the internet, where two trusted individuals, without sharing information, can transact, whether it's value, as in money, whether it's information, where it could be your health records that are stored on a blockchain that you can share with your doctor, or share with some medical insurer or travel insurer. Even ownership, using smart locks and smart cards. I could grant you ownership to my house. We don't have to share information, but just I know that you are you, and therefore we can transact in that way. And I think that's really important going forward, and it's going to be important for the development and maturity of the internet. So it's a grand vision, and what we've got right now is an adoption strategy. But I think it's an important adoption strategy.